Just indignation. Righteous indignation.
Hello and welcome to The Dig, the podcast about the politics of race, class, sexuality, and other things that matter. I'm Cory.
I'm Alexis.
And we are righteously indignant. And we have a special guest live via satellite. Although, not really, it's just a phone. But maybe there's probably a satellite involved somewhere.
It's so exciting.
So exciting.
So, our guest this week, her name is Takiyah. I met Takiyah through Melvin, aka Melvin in the Kitchen. And she is a great friend. And when I say that, you can mean different things, like we've been through so much, or I know this person so personally. But when I'm thinking of Takiyah, it's like, she is great because she's always speaking up and speaking her mind, and she's the most current person I know. She always is up on current events and social justice, and I just feel continually excited about what she's saying and what she's writing and wanting to share it with everybody and promote it across social media. So it was a natural next step to have her on the podcast and get her word out on the Dig podcast as well. So welcome, Takiyah.
Hi, yay! This is exciting.
Hi,
I think
Takiyah.
It's exciting because I listen to the show, so I am a fan, and now I'm a guest. Yay!
We are delighted to have you. Do you want to tell the audience a little bit about yourself or what you do?
Just that I am a indignant brown woman that is originally from upstate New York. I now live in the Southeast, and I am a professor at an undisclosed location.
Okay, that is excellent. Yeah, I meant to say right off the top that you were absolutely righteously indignant, and
Oh, yes.
You are the perfect person to come on the podcast and share some of the things that make you indignant with us.
In the best possible way. Righteously indignant in the best possible way, for sure.
And I just have to say, I actually had a moment this week that reminded me of one of the things that makes me sort of the most indignant, which is people on your social media, like friends list, who never talk to you or interact with you except when they want to show up to correct you about something.
Right.
Don't be that guy.
Yeah.
Don't be that person. I am actually, anybody who knows me will tell you I am kind and I am pleasant and I am full of cotton candy and glitter and I love children and small animals. But that type of thing really makes me want to I want to see you in the street about that.
Right, like why?
Who do you think you are, exactly?
Why do you just show up out of nowhere after we haven't talked in a year? You say happy birthday to me once a year on Facebook, and suddenly you have something to come correct me about.
Listen, and your post is as long, as my glorious hair, and in my experience, it tends to be mixed. It tends to be like dude friends that I went to college or graduate school with who, exactly as you mentioned, they say happy birthday to me. I get a happy holidays shout out. And then, we'll be having some phenomenal conversation about feminist theory or justice or something. And this random wants to show up in the moment and wax philosophical about stuff that they know nothing about. Sir, no one asked you, sir.
Is it always a guy?
In my experience, it usually is.
Yep.
Very seldom have I had sister friends doing this. And it seems to be that these men want to intervene if there's been sort of a relatively long thread of women having a really good conversation. It's like they have to step in and go, now, ladies. Yeah,
they've got to mansplain it almost.
It should be illegal.
Yeah.
It should be illegal. Because the thing of it is, you can have whatever opinion you want to have, but that to me is poor social media etiquette.
Well, it's also this sense of entitlement and this sense of well, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to shut it down and I'm going to tell it like it is and that's the end of the conversation. Which makes me completely irate and righteously indignant.
Nobody asked you, sir.
Uh-huh.
Absolutely.
Nobody asked you.
And
nobody asked you. And if you do it to me once, I will warn you. I will warn you and say, look, I see what you're doing. I smell what you're stepping in. It is not okay. You're welcome to engage and talk and be here, but this is really rude. And if you persist with the foolishness, then you have to go. Alexis knows my block game is strong. I will send you a one-way ticket to the block party in a minute on social media.
I was just going to say, this totally reminds me of that time when we were on... it must have been my wall, because it was a childhood friend of mine, and he kind of showed up and said, I'm tired of my voice not mattering because I'm a white male, and I'm tired of being told that what I have to say and what I think doesn't matter. And then a couple of us were trying to be sort of a little bit gentle, like, okay, nobody said that, and we're saying that your voice on how black folks, how they, what's it called, advocate, and how you don't get to tell them how to behave for their community. Your voice matters just fine when you're talking about you and your folks, but you don't get to tell them how to be. And then he started saying, yeah, but your friend Takiyah said this and this and this. And Takiyah shows up and goes, oh, get my name out of your mouth. I did not invite you to tell me what to say or what to think. And he goes, no, but Takiyah said this. And she's like, oh, I gave you a warning. See, I said, stop saying my name. You don't get to tell me what to do. So this goes back and forth for like 4 or 5 comments. And Takiyah goes, okay, that's it. Block party for you. You're blocked. And then he comes around and goes, you know, your friend didn't have to come in and delete everything she ever wrote. And everybody had to be like, no, she didn't, sweetie. We still see it.
Yeah.
You're the one at the block party.
Yeah. I remember that story.
Leave the party. She just doesn't have time for you. And the truth of the matter is, like in situations like that, I remember that. And I really appreciate the fact that y'all were willing to be kind and engage him. But that's just not what God has for me right now. Like, I'm all about white folks stepping in and having difficult conversations, because we've been doing it for a very long time. Right. And my primary concern and interest right now is we're taking care of my folks and the kind of collective trauma that we're experiencing.
Right.
So I don't really have it in me to, and I be telling folks, like, listen, I am not here to surrogate birth you through to the other side.
Right.
This is not the Green Mile. This is not the help. I'm not magical. I'm not here to tell you you are kind, smart, and important. And it kills me when there's some big, kind of social justice issue happening, and black folks are in mourning, like trying to comfort each other on social media. And inevitably, somebody white pokes their head in, and it's, well, you all need to explain to me what the issue is. No, we don't.
Right.
Carry us over to the Google machine. As Kid Fury likes to refer to it, go on over to the white man's Google, because it has all the answers.
Yeah.
You can ask it whatever you want to ask it. We've written books, treatises, we've sung songs, choreographed dances, created curricular materials. Like, if you really want to learn something, I'm going to need you to be responsible for doing your own work and stop asking the people who are experiencing the most trauma with the least available resources to put all that to the side and center your needs. Right. I am not your mom. I'm not your mom.
No, and you're not being paid to give that lecture. Like, you're a professor and people pay for your time and your services and your knowledge, and then you're on social media and no one's paying you to guide them along the way like a frickin' shepherd.
Look, and some of it isn't even that these folks really want to learn something. Because if you really, really, really wanted to learn, you go out and do it.
Right.
It's just that, for you, this is an intellectual game. You want us to explain and justify our position and do this kind of sparring of wits and parsing of language, which I can do, rather beautifully. But as you mentioned, 1, people pay me for that. And 2, most of these fools that I run into on social media who make those kinds of demands couldn't pay me enough to do it.
Right. It's a challenge.
So,
I mean,
back off me. Back up off me. You got one more warning. Keep my name out your mouth, or you will be in the block zone, wondering what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a challenge in that like they are literally challenging you. And you're totally right. Like if they wanted to learn about this stuff, there are plenty of resources and they would go out and do it. But when somebody comes to you on social media and says, well, explain this to me, well, tell me about this, they're not asking because they want to know. They're asking because they want to challenge you, because they want to challenge your ideas, or like the notion that that white privilege even exists, or whatever, blah, 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 blah. And and it's confrontational. They're not seeking education, they're seeking confrontation.
That's absolutely true, because like Takiyah was saying, it's all been written, it's all been
it's
said.
there, and yes,
the resources are there, so you are being willfully difficult. You are challenging this person, not these ideas. You could have looked this up.
Yeah.
And
I know from my own experience. Go ahead.
The shady part of it for me is, the really shady part about it for me is when the person goes, I'm just going to play devil's advocate.
Oh, no. We don't need you to do that.
Sir, the devil, first of all, the devil doesn't need an advocate.
Right.
Second, there's not always two sides. This idea that there's two sides there are two sides, and yours is wrong.
Right.
Right.
Sometimes, particularly when we're talking about matters of justice, it's not about, entertaining. If your perspective is that black people are inherently criminal, that's not an opinion that I'm going to hold up alongside a historically relevant, thoughtful, contextual, and critical understanding of what's happening right now, just because it's your opinion. I always tell my students, if you want to talk to me about something, you better be bringing more than an opinion when you do.
Right. So the school year must be starting up where you are. How are you feeling about going into the workspace and having to tuck all of this away, all of the things happening right now with social justice and current events? How do you set that aside and then, I don't know, pretend that everything's fine? Or like, how do you steel yourself for this?
I really have no idea, and I'm a little nervous about it, because the truth of the matter is, I love what I do, and I think I'm good at it, but I'm exhausted already, and we haven't even started back. I'm exhausted because I work in a space where there's a lot of emphasis around civility and collegiality, which is basically code for do not make white people uncomfortable.
Right.
Okay. Because if you do that, if you do or say anything that rubs up against their perspective or sensibility, then somehow you're not being civil, which completely ignores the fact that for many of them, just my presence in the space is already perceived as a provocation. So all that, is already functioning in the soup. And then with everything that is going on with regard to matters of social justice, and particularly police brutality, I'm not looking forward to being in a place where I have to pretend like that's not what I'm thinking about. I don't know how I'm going to handle people saying, well, good morning, how are you? And what I want to say is, I'm fucking angry, or I'm scared, or I'm pissed off. Another person got killed yesterday, and that's what I'm thinking about, because I work in an environment where that would not be acceptable, but that's also the reality. So the truth is, I've actually spent some time in the last week kind of planning my schedule so that if I don't have to be there, I won't be there. Not because I don't like my workspace, but with everything else that's going on right now, it's going to be a little too much biting my tongue, that's going to be required. And that's a kind of labor in and of itself that I'm not looking forward to.
Yeah, it's hard. And I'm not facing any of the, I don't bear any of the weight that you bear, but it's hard for me to sort of set aside my politics and my, these things that we talk about that we're so righteously indignant about, and just sort of like put that in a little box and then go be a professional in the world and just coexist with people who are on the wrong side of this stuff. And, it's not, if it's your uncle at the dinner table, you have every right, and really the onus is on you to speak up and say, what are you talking about? That's fucked up. That's crazy. But at work, you aren't allowed to say it. So I can only imagine how hard it is if you're like living and breathing these issues and then you go to work and just pretend that everything is A-okay.
It's a particular kind of stress, coupled with all the other, if you want to consider it that way, sort of regular everyday work stress.
Right.
So on top of regular everyday work stress, it is the labor of not saying what it is that you really think about these really pressing issues. And it's the continued maintenance of kind of tap dancing around other people's sensibilities, because you certainly, and I want to be clear, it's not to suggest that other people don't talk about politics in the workspace, because they do. But for me to talk about this would be perceived as a particular kind of affront. And I know that, you know, from experience in this context before. So people can talk about other, you know, things that are happening in the world and not consider sort of perfectly appropriate banter. But if I talk about, you know, Black Lives Matter or anything like that, I'm perceived already as being divisive or disruptive or sort of doing the most.
Yeah, that is some bullshit.
That's really frustrating.
Yeah.
That is bullshit. That is crazy.
Well, that's white fragility, and it's white privilege. I mean, it's everything that we've talked about, you know, on this entire podcast. You can't, you know, we can talk about anything that we want to talk about, but don't you dare bring up the R word, or don't you dare bring up, you know, the fact that, like, racism still exists and that white privilege is a thing, because I'm so fragile I can't handle it.
Yeah, but I can come and talk about maybe gun rights or pro-life or pro-choice or whatever that particular person's issue is, but somehow this is the only thing that's off limits. Even though
it's that, but you're also in an environment where kind of coded language is already at play, right?
Yeah.
So it's that, but it's also being in conversations that on their face are not about race or privilege or culture, but that's absolutely what they're about. So anytime we get into a conversation about changing curriculum or requirements, and people start saying things like, well, we should do X, Y, Z because it'll get us better students, my stomach is always in knots, because I'm going to push you to tell me what you mean when you say better.
Yeah.
Or when they say, well, this will get us students who are, you know, of higher quality, how exactly are you measuring that? And inevitably, the way that it's being measured is always something that intersects at the location of race, gender, sexuality, identity, and nation. And that is, that's at the center of how I think, live, move, and breathe in the world. So, you know, I'm sure that it'll be fine. I'm sure it'll be a good semester. I look forward to being with my students. But I've already been more intentional about, okay, so I'm leaving today at 2 o'clock, and I'm going to go to those 2 meetings, and then I'm going right to the car. Where can I park so I can get out of here? That's already happened.
Which is, I mean, I'm really glad that you're doing that for yourself, but it's also just sad that you have to even think that way, that you have to be so strategic with your schedule and your planning and your day to take care of yourself just at a bare minimum. I'm glad you're doing it, but it's
those things, honestly, that a lot of people of color do that white folks don't think about.
Right.
You know, just the navigating of a regular work day. How am I going to go in, do my job, not cuss anybody out or commit a felony by, you know, fighting somebody in this meeting, and teach my students and do the work that I trained and sacrificed and, you know, got all these advanced degrees to do? How am I going to do all of that and still maintain some sense of sanity so that I can engage, you know, the rest of my life in a way that makes sense? Look, I'm going to be honest with you. I have an excellent therapist. We see each other very regularly.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's getting ready to go out on maternity leave, and I'm very excited because she let me know that we'll still able to have our sessions, or we'll be doing them, you know, electronically. And I'm glad that she's giving me that option, because the thought of not being able to see her or engage with her regularly, that would be bad for me, but it would ultimately be bad for other folks.
Yeah.
You know, I tell people all the time, they need to pay me for the stuff I don't say.
Oh my goodness. No, I'm a big advocate for therapy, and I'm not currently seeing anybody, but I have at many different points in my life, and I think it's great that, at least for you and me, we feel like we can openly tell people and talk about it. I think it's been taboo for a lot of years. A lot of people will not go talk to somebody, and it would be better for them. It would be healthier for their coworkers, for their family. It would help all the people around them. But yeah, for some reason, we're not supposed to, you have a broken arm, you go see a doctor, you have you have strep throat, that's acceptable to get treatment for, but you have depression or anxiety or any other mental health problem, I don't know what you're supposed to do, but not talk about it.
Well, I think it's that, but also, I don't wait until my arm is broken to go to the doctor.
Yeah.
So you don't have to wait until you perceive that there's a problem to go talk to somebody with regard to your mental health. On some level, we have to normalize this and make it about maintenance.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, I'm in therapy and you should be glad. You should be real glad. Because if I was, folks have no idea sometimes how close they come to getting red up one side and down the other, on a regular basis. So, if I make it through the whole week and don't go off on anybody, that is grounds for me. I should get like a parade or a present, something in a Tiffany box.
I love it. Okay, well, we've reached our first kind of segment of the episode. I have, this is a new one. This is 3 lists of 3.
3 lists of 3! Yeah!
I'm going to give you guys the title of my list, and rather than say what my 3 things are, you guys are going to guess them, and you're going to get them all right. I'm very excited. So my first list of 3 is the 3 least presidential / most absurd Republican candidates right now.
Well, Donald Trump, obviously.
Yep.
What do you think, Takiyah?
Does Jeb Bush count?
I did not have him in my top 3, but they could all count, really.
Yeah. I think Jeb Bush is ridiculous, but he's kind of like the least ridiculous, which isn't saying much. Maybe Ted Cruz?
Yep, Ted Cruz is on my list.
And then, what do you think, Takiyah? The last one's probably like, okay, Donald Trump, Ted Cruz, and then like Rand Paul, maybe? What do you think, Takiyah?
There's somebody more absurd.
I was going to go Rand Paul.
Who's more absurd than Rand Paul?
This is somebody who thinks Obamacare is worse than slavery.
Oh,
you mean that Ben Carson?
Yep, that's it. Ding, ding, ding.
What's his name again?
Ben Carson.
Understand
oh, yes.
That I have kind of blocked the fact that he exists out of my mind.
I feel like the fact that he is the only black person on either side is worse than if there were none. He is worse for people of color and for black folks in America than if there were literally 0 people of color running. He is the worst case scenario. He is ridiculous.
And me and some of my friends play that game. We do the racial draft. Who could we trade him for? And the fact is, he's so bad. I don't know if there's anybody we could trade him for.
I mean,
I don't think white folks want him.
No,
there's nobody that we could get that would make it an equal. It's like we're stuck with him.
But Republican white folks love him because then they have their one black friend.
Isn't he the black friend? He's like the stock black friend that they all refer to.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And it only takes one because he has many friends. And not many of them are brown. He has many friends, and so to all of them, they get a black friend that they get to use.
Yep.
He's so bad that sometimes I want to believe he's got to be playing. Like, you almost expect him to go, "Fuck y'all, I'm not that crazy."
Yeah.
He is.
And it's so frustrating. I always argue with Melvin. Well, it's not really an argument. I'm always like, but how is he a brain surgeon? Like, how is he so brilliant in one field and then just an utter, out of touch, completely detached, crazy person in every other area of his life?
Well, isn't that like what an idiot savant is?
Yes, he's an idiot savant.
He is an idiot savant.
Okay, next list. 3 people who should not have talk shows.
Oh. Megan, what's her face? The chick that we've been talking about? I forget her last name.
That is very close to one of the answers.
Okay,
Keep
but not
naming
her.
people. Well...
Ann Coulter, does she still have a talk show?
She does not have a talk show.
Okay, good.
I mean, I don't know that this counts, but my brain was like, all of those people on The View.
Oh, definitely all those people on The View, for sure.
Yep, that's it.
For
Like, I want to
sure.
and I'm tipping my hat at Raven. I'm tipping my hat at her. Because
Oh,
she makes me all of the sick.
yeah. All of those people on The View, and then in addition, including all of their like guest hosts, their regular guest hosts that like fill in regularly.
Yeah.
Because they're all bad too.
It has really gone downhill.
So it was never on that big of a hill to begin with. Let's be
Right,
real.
it was already not that great,
Yeah.
and it's gotten worse and worse and worse. And I don't know what is wrong with Whoopi.
Oh, Whoopi.
But keep it funky. Whoopi ain't been right for decades.
No, that's true. That's true. She would probably still right now defend Ted Danson in blackface at the Friars Club.
Whoopi been crazy ever since then.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, it's a sad thing to see because she's wildly talented, and I value her in that regard. But she's another one who can go.
Yeah, I was officially done with her when I think it was Roman Polanski was guilty of rape, but not rape.
It's not real.
It's not
real
wasn't
rape.
It
Yeah.
wasn't rape.
It wasn't
Not
real
real.
rape. Yeah.
Right. That's probably when I was done with her. Okay, so yes, The View is one of the people who should not have talk shows.
Oh, that's just
I
one?
don't
Yeah.
know
Oh.
why he has a show, but I say Maury.
Oh, does he still have a show?
Maury Povich? Yeah.
God,
He still
really?
has a show.
Yeah.
And he's got to be 372 years old.
Exactly.
Oh, exactly.
For real. And he has one topic, and it's the same. It's You Are Not the Father, like 8 days a week.
Yeah.
And then once in a while, if there's a 9th day in a week, he has Is This a Man or a Woman?
Which is so insulting and...
I'm dead
just-
serious.
I
That's
know.
a real thing.
No, I know.
No,
I know.
I forgot he even existed because I don't have a TV, so I don't see what's currently on. I just
Oh.
assumed he was dead.
Wendy Williams.
Oh, damn, this list needs to be way longer. She should not have a show.
She should definitely not have a show.
I did not have her on here, but that's really good.
Every time she opens her mouth, I just get really angry. She just pisses me off.
Do you know who I did have on my list? Is Steve Harvey.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Oh!
why don't you like Steve
He's
Harvey?
the devil and he hates women.
He is
evil
so sexist.
misogynist.
He's such a misogynist.
Yeah.
And he's
He's an evil, violent misogynist. And what makes it even worse, ladies and gentlemen, is he makes so much money preying on women's insecurity.
Yep.
So these book tours he does about act like a man and be a lady and all this stuff, and you see black women especially buying his books and tapes and courses so that this man who's on wife number 3.5 can tell you how to be, and he's just disgusting. He's even made it so I can't enjoy watching Family Feud.
right.
Right.
And that takes, that's a fun game, and the families are so, it's a good premise, but he's terrible.
Yeah.
With his stupid mustache that could have its own zip code, and those suits.
Those suits.
He needs to stop.
Yeah.
Somebody
Yeah.
needs to stop him.
I know who else.
But you know he has a fashion line now, y'all.
Oh,
You know
my
that.
Of course he does,
You
of
know
course.
he sells some suits, y'all. We could get Cory a suit. We could get Melvin a suit.
And you know
I'm sure
what?
he could make the baby a suit.
Do you
So
know-
He has that.
Okay, anybody gets a fashion line because Roland Martin has a fashion line.
But you also know that Wendy Williams people have been in talks to develop a talk show with Nene Leakes. That just makes me want to cry.
Oh, Nene.
Yeah.
I don't even want to talk. Okay, Dr. Oz.
Yep, that was the other one.
Yes!
That was the other one, was Dr. Oz, because he's dangerous.
He's dangerous, yeah.
He's telling people, like, you don't need chemo, just eat this yogurt and take this vitamin and, I don't know, sit under a tree. He is bad for humanity. He is dangerous.
What is wrong with this man? What is wrong with him?
He's literally telling people, and he gets paid and sponsored, and he literally tells people they don't need real medicine because they can just do this homeopathic bullshit and they'll be fine.
Is he really a doctor?
He is. He is really a doctor, but I think he's also, like, into some woo-woo, like, spiritual homeopathy stuff. And, yeah, he is a doctor, whereas, like, Dr. Phil, has a...
Well, Dr. Phil is a doctor also, but...
He's a PhD, but he's not a medical doctor.
He's not a medical doctor, no.
And I don't think he's a psychiatrist. No.
Well, he would be a psychologist,
But
if anything. But
I
you don't
don't-
even think it's that.
I don't even know if he's that.
Oh.
I think he's a PhD in something, though.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was my 3 people who shouldn't have talk shows, and this is my favorite. This is the third list of 3. 3 dancers who should have just stuck to dancing. 3 people who should still just be dancing.
Paula Abdul.
Yep, Paula Abdul. Yep.
Man, that's my number one.
What's Toni Basil?
No, I don't even know who that is.
She sings "Hey Mickey, You're So Fine."
Oh,
But she was like Paula. She was like a dance. She is a dancer,
okay.
choreographer, and I mean she had that one hit and that was it.
Okay.
But I mean I actually like that song and I think she sounds good on it. So I don't hate her for it. Except that it gets stuck in my head. It's like an earworm.
Uh-huh.
But like no, she's fine.
Should have just stuck to dancing.
Okay, one of them, this person is, I'll give them a pass for acting in like rom-coms, but they should not sing. This person should not be allowed to sing. This person should stick to dancing. Don't sing.
Jennifer Lopez.
Yep, J-Lo. Yep, ding, 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 ding.
Yep, totally. And the last one is, I just had it. I don't remember.
The last one is a guy,
Oh, it's a guy. Oh.
and he should have stuck to dancing, and he was okay at that, and then everything else he's ever done is horrible. He should not sing. He should not talk. He should not be interviewed.
I'm stumped.
I have no idea. Give us one more hint.
He should not be interviewed because he can't be trusted not to throw a chair out a window.
Who threw a chair out a window? I don't know this.
Somebody threw a chair out a window at an interview, like at Good Morning America or something, because they deigned to ask him about something in his personal life, like an actual crime he committed.
Oh, this sounds very familiar, but I don't remember who it is.
Chris Brown. Chris Brown.
Oh.
He was...
Okay, but wait. Now, let me say, Chris is all of the sick and needs all of the help in the world.
Sure.
But I just remember when he first came out, because Chris can sing. And little white girls and their mamas was lining up at the Walmart and buying his CDs and stuff because he was cute. I mean, he was making that cute crossover coin. And then somewhere, I don't know if he started smoking or cocaining or, some combination thereof. He is like completely off the deep end. And I'm not at the point where I'm scared for him. I'm scared for him because I think he's like self-destructive.
Yeah, he is.
Hitting people, fighting all the time, throwing chairs through windows and stuff. And the sad part is that he's a dad now.
Yeah. That's right.
Now granted, the way he got his little beautiful daughter was a little raggedy,
Yes.
Having sex with that married old lady and everything. But now he's somebody's father, and you would think that might be enough of a reason to snap him out, but it doesn't seem so.
Yeah. Well, I guess I always thought before the deep end part, I was never a fan of his singing. I agree he had a lot of fans, and I agree that people liked his singing, but that I never needed him to start singing. He could have stuck with dancing, and then we wouldn't have to even have this discussion. He would just be a good dancer, and he wouldn't have become as famous and as big, and then he wouldn't have been able to afford the cocaine that made him go over the deep end. If he had just stuck to dancing, maybe none of this would have happened.
I just need his mama to stop talking about how he's the next Michael Jackson.
Oh.
Since the ship has sailed.
Yeah.
Man.
Yes.
The ship has sailed. Stop telling him. That's why he ain't right now.
Yeah.
Just Mammy is somewhere telling him, baby, you the stuff.
Yep.
Well, what she needs to be saying is, you know what? He needs to really be on some, and I know Kid Fury has said this, Chris just needs to just be on his Eat, Pray, Love. He needs to just go sit on the top of a mountain somewhere, no Wi-Fi, no access to social media, no homeboys and homegirls to hang out with, and just get his soul together.
Absolutely. Amen. Yes. So that was my new segment, 3 Lists of 3.
3 lists of 3. Yeah.
So we're going to talk about white privilege for a minute.
This week in white privilege.
Oh, you just mean this week like last week?
Well, right. So, it's not very strict. It's like this episode, we're talking about white privilege, but it's ubiquitous. It's all the time, everywhere you go. I had a quick personal anecdote of, like, weird, unwanted white privilege that I experienced, that was, like, really upsetting. I was at a, it's like a long story, but it was sort of a community event, and people were lining up to get items that were going to be thrown away. So it was like a food reclamation project where there's food that's just going to be thrown in a dumpster, and so you pick it up and you share it with your neighbors. And I was there, and I noticed there's this guy who's always there who's really nice to me. He's an older white guy, and I thought maybe he's nice to women. And then the next week he said something about, I don't want to make you and the baby stand in the hot sun. So then I thought maybe he's nice to women and their kids. And then, but this week, I was there and I said to him, he said, you're going to go in this line. And I said, that's cool. If it's okay, I'm going to wait right here in the shade because I have the baby and I don't want her to be in the hot sun. And he said, oh yeah, absolutely. In fact, just get in the line right here. And he tried to have me cut in the line in front of another 60 people. And I said, no, I'm not trying to cut in the line. I just wanted to wait in the shade because I don't want the baby in the hot sun for that extra 5 or 10 minutes. And he said, no, it's fine. Go ahead and get in the line. And then a really elderly woman said, I would also like to sit in the shade if it's okay. And he said, no, I don't care. Get out of here, to her. And she was an older Korean woman. And she was definitely, like, elderly and fragile. And there was a place for her to sit in the shade. And there was no reason not to let her. And the way that he talked to her after saying to me, no, you get in the line. Go ahead, get in the line. And I'm saying, I don't even want in the line. I'm not going to walk in front of 60 people who are all waiting and who, like, what the hell? No. And I had to say, no, I don't want to cut in the line 2 or 3 times. And this poor little old lady says, I would like to sit here. And he says, I don't care. Get out of here. And it was really aggressive. It was like, get out of here. Get. Like she was a fucking rodent.
Oh, God.
And it was just like, I was trying to chalk it up to, he's nice because I'm a woman, or he's nice because I have a baby. No, he's nice because I'm white.
Yep. So what happened? What did the woman do after that? What happened after that?
The woman, I think she kind of pretended not to understand.
Yeah. And
just sort of waited in the shade.
Yeah. I was just curious. Because how do you deal with things like that? It's so...
It was really gross. And now I don't even want to go back.
It also sounds ageist.
Yes.
You know.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds, that this is about race, but it's also about gender and age in the sense that, here he's trying to be nice to the pretty young white woman. The older Asian woman presents herself in his mind as some kind of other, which is, indicative of the fact that he barked at her like a dog.
Yeah. Well, I didn't mention that he's also...
a person.
Right. But he's also older. I don't know. That's probably why I didn't think it was as much about age. It felt like it was about gender and race.
Well, I think there is something to be said about that, regardless of whatever age the man is, there is something to be said about
you're right.
Men not treating women of a certain age with respect.
Right. And also men get to get older and women don't.
Exactly, yeah.
That's men are allowed to age and women aren't.
That's right, yeah.
But yeah, the way he spoke to her with such vitriol, it was really unpleasant.
God, that's so awful.
It was really upsetting. And I just, oh God.
Ugh.
It was really horrible. It was really horrible. And then he went off and did something else, and somebody else took that job, and the moment was gone and it was over. But now I feel dirty. I feel gross.
Yeah.
At least you have the consciousness to feel dirty or gross. Someone else would have just pushed that off as, this gentleman was just being nice to me, and not think about it in the larger context of the fact that there were other people there, who were impacted by the choices, that he chose to make. Because you could have just said, well, this man is just being nice to me. He's been nice to me before. I'm just going to wait and, skip these other people. But you didn't even, that didn't feel good to you. For a lot of people, thinking about how that choice would have impacted the 60 other people in the line would have been completely lost on them. It's sort of one of the problems we have in our society at large. Look, I don't have to be a whale to be concerned about them being endangered or having a negative habitat to swim in.
Right.
But we do that with other groups of human beings. It's like, well, if they're not me or like me or the issue they're facing is not on my porch or at my doorstep in a discernible way, then I don't have to really be concerned. I do consider myself to be a very religious person, but I do have a spiritual relationship, and I pray. And I'll be honest with you, I can't be thankful for having a warm, dry, safe place to lay my head at night and not think about the people who don't have that. It makes me feel convicted in my spirit. If I'm grateful for the food that I have, I can't be grateful and not think about the people who aren't eating right now. And it makes me feel, galvanized to do something about it. But a lot of people are not that. That's not me trying to, position myself as better than anybody else. It's just an observation that a lot of people don't think that way at all.
Right. Yeah, and it's also a burden because it's not fun. It's not pleasant to think about all of that suffering. But, a lot of shit's not pleasant. Like, that's just the way that it is. I think even people who may otherwise be caring and, would want the end to those injustices and those disparities, but it's uncomfortable to think about. It's uncomfortable to think, I have this food, but other people don't. And so it's easier to just think, I have this food. It's easier.
Right. But the thing is, it then becomes, the slippery slope there is it becomes, I have this food because I am better than these other people, or because I earned it. Right. Not because I live in a context that facilitates me having a particular kind of position where I have access to this particular resource. Nobody wants to feel implicated in your privilege. Nobody does.
Yeah.
It's not comfortable. It's not comfortable because then the next step, if you're aware, is, oh my goodness, I need to do something about it. And people, you mean I gotta risk my comfort zone?
Right.
Why would I do this?
Yeah.
Oh. So that was this week in white privilege. That was my little personal experience with it that has me feeling, I'm just grossed out. I feel like there's like a film on me now, like a gross layer of privilege that
Yeah.
Okay, so, Cory, what did you want to talk about this week?
Weekly topics. Well, I had a story to share. And it has to kind of do with what we were talking about. I believe it was last week, and we were talking about Bernie Sanders and the Black Lives Matter, and like why people asking like, why are you targeting Bernie Sanders? Because he was a civil rights activist and blah 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 blah.
Yeah, don't you know that 50 years ago he marched one time with Martin Luther King Jr. and therefore everything is right with the world and he's perfect.
Yeah, remember that one time he wasn't racist?
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Not that he is, but not that he is any more than we all are. At being white people, I mean. Okay, so I was talking to a friend of mine last night, and I was telling him this story about two friends of mine who I was complaining to him about how they're both essentially racist. And one of them is stupid as shit. Like, I mean that in like the...
Wait a second. I need to back up.
Yeah.
Did you say I was talking to one friend about another friend, and are you calling your own friend stupid as shit?
No, I was talking to one friend. I was talking to Thomas.
Okay.
I was talking to Thomas about two other friends of mine.
Right.
Right.
But they're stupid as shit.
They are... okay. So I was talking to Thomas. I was talking to him about two other friends. One of them we'll call Jonathan, and the other one we'll call Michael. Okay? So, I was telling him about Jonathan and Michael, and about how they're both, like, essentially racist. Jonathan is stupid as shit. Like, he is really stupid. Like, he's like... I mean... nice guy, but just like so unable to comprehend pretty much anything. And he's also the type of person that will talk about things like he knows what he's talking about when really he has absolutely no idea what the fuck he's talking about at all.
Okay.
You know? And like he'll have conviction and he'll be like, "Oh, well, one time, recently I was talking to him and he said, 'Oh, well, I grew up around this, so I know about it.' And I said, 'Well, I grew up going to the doctors, but that doesn't make me a doctor, does it?' Like, you really have no idea what you're talking about." His racism comes out in that he says, like, one time he said, he's like, "I have no problem with black people. I've never had a problem with black people. Black people are fine, but Latinos, ugh." That's what he said. And then he goes on to tell the story about how he was in high school and he was on the computer in the library and there was this Latin guy next to him and they were both looking up scholarships and no scholarships came up for him, but when the Latin guy searched for scholarships, a bunch of scholarships came up for him. And he had worse grades than Jonathan did. So I don't know why. So he's like, I don't know why he had more scholarships. It was just because of his race.
So this one anecdote is his explanation for how all Latinos are inherently,
absolutely.
This one isolated thing that clearly he doesn't even know what happened. He doesn't understand even that 30-second thing that happened, 15 years ago.
Yes.
He literally didn't understand that moment. And now he's going to blame an entire people group, masses of people, for that incident, one moment.
He's also the one who said that like it was okay for me to date somebody who wasn't white as long as they were whitewashed. Yeah, we had this I think this was 2 podcasts ago, and I was talking about this. This is that guy that I was talking about. He said, "Oh, this person that you're dating, oh no, I think they're like Latin or half Latin, but it's okay because they're totally whitewashed." So basically, white is best, and if you're not white, be as white as you can be, is what he's saying.
I mean, it's not even thinly veiled.
No, it's not. That is exactly what he's saying. You're totally right. Now, I could go, now he tells me the story about the scholarship thing, and it's like, I could, and I have tried to be like, okay, I can try to explain to you, like, the history of privilege and
disparity of opportunity, lack of opportunity.
Yes, and that thing that like colleges do, affirmative action. And I can explain to you like how that works and like what it is and like why it's important and why whatever. And also, by the way, just because he qualified for these scholarships doesn't mean that he got the scholarships. It just means that they're available to people who are of Latin heritage and whatever.
But this goes back to what we were saying earlier. First of all, that is a lot of time and effort to try to explain it to somebody who's not ready to listen.
Exactly. And when we were talking about that earlier, I was like, oh, this is going to be perfect for my topic because this is exactly what I'm talking about. I could try to explain these things, but not only is it completely exhausting to me, obviously not as exhausting in a way as a person of color. It might be to a person of color because I don't experience that trauma that people of color are experiencing right now. So it is on my shoulders to explain it. But the other thing is that like, he's too stupid to get it. He won't understand.
It's like the Black Lives Matter people protesting at Bernie Sanders, and everybody goes, why are you going to him? He's the good guy. And they're like, he's the one we have some hope for.
Exactly, and that was the conclusion I was going to draw. Yes, you're awesome. Yes, it's exactly like that.
They're like, go protest the Republicans, and the Black Lives Matter people are like...
What's the point? They won't hear it. They won't hear it. They won't get it. They won't hear it. It won't happen.
Yeah.
So I was comparing this Jonathan friend to my friend Michael... Names have been changed, and Michael also is not ignorant and not very well educated and white and privileged and but suffers and doesn't understand the difference between like privilege and suffering and how they're not the same thing, and like he doesn't anyway, and like racist things will come out of his mouth and he'll just be like and not even give any thought to it. But the difference is that with Michael, he actually is responsive and listens to when I correct him on things. Like he'll say something racist, or he'll say something, about anti-affirmative action, or about privilege, or I don't know, whatever. And I'll say, there have been times, like one time we were in the car, and I said, actually, you really need to think about this and this and this, and like, it's, and I try to explain it to him, and every time I confront somebody about it, I'm always prepared for the worst. Like, I kind of take a deep breath, and I say what I have to say, and then I hold my breath, because I'm like bracing myself for like the onslaught of white fragility and all of that. But with him, I'm surprised every single time, because he actually just stays quiet. And then I ask him, I'm like, what do you think? Whatever. He's like, oh, I'm just thinking about what you said. And I'm like, oh.
That is refreshing.
That is so refreshing. And I mean, he's still got a long ways to go. But like, I was telling Thomas last night, I was like, I don't think I can be friends with these guys anymore, because it's just so exhausting. And I don't know if they're listening. And the more we talked about it, the more I realized that was the fundamental difference between this Jonathan character and this Michael character.
Yeah, I'm over Jonathan. I think we're done with him.
And that I should be friends with Michael, because at least it's like a Bernie Sanders. At least there's a spark of hope there. And there is, like, the change is possible. But Michael just needs to go not Michael. Jonathan just needs to go and just...
Yeah.
Maybe he needs to learn his lesson another way. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have much hope for him based on just the few anecdotes you've told us on this episode and on previous episodes. I feel I don't have any hope. It's like the block party. Eventually you give up on the person and you hope they find it some way, but it's not your job.
Yeah. But then on the other hand, like, I kind of feel like, I mean, it is my job in that, like, I do need to take responsibility for my own, I don't know.
Okay, it's your job to correct
But wait now. Y'all should see the face I'm making. Because I'm like, God knows who to give what to, because he couldn't be my damn friend. I feel your pain, because on the one hand, you got a friend who's not necessarily the most hip to the skip, but is open and processing information. This other one is not that he's sort of incapable of learning. This is willful ignorance on his part. Like, he's being a dumbass.
Yeah.
Let us be clear that he's being a dumbass. And so on the one hand, you feel this sense of sort of humanitarian responsibility, but the Buddhists would say that if you don't have compassion for yourself, your compassion is incomplete. So you do not have to maintain this friendship. You can wish him well. You can be cordial. You can send him a reading list. You can, whatever.
Yes.
But you don't have to continue. I think of friendship as cultivating intimacy.
Mm.
And I don't know that you want to cultivate intimacy with someone who is so stalwart in their bullshit.
That's
I mean, that would be pain. That sounds like pain for you. Unless you into that, Cory.
I'm into pain of a different kind. No.
Yeah. You can wish him well, and y'all can be cordial. You can see him at the bar and smile and everything. But this person does not have to be your friend like that.
Yeah.
You don't have to cultivate intimacy, because it's probably crazy making to try to hang out with somebody like that.
It is absolutely... you totally nailed it. Which is why I was kind of at my wit's end, and I was talking to Thomas about this, and I was saying, I don't know what to do anymore, because I'm just so... my patience has run out.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think there's a line. So, I completely hear you, Takiyah, when you're saying, like, I don't remember what you said, but God knew who to give him to, because you wouldn't be able to put up with his shit for half a second. I feel, you joked once that it was my ministry. I feel like it's on me as the one person that's speaking the truth to some of these people, as the only person who has not blocked them yet, to give it another shot and to give it another shot and to keep trying, because everybody else has already defriended them and given up. And all the people of color have already blocked them. And it's like, if I am the only hope this person has of ever understanding that they have privilege, or that they are partaking in a racist system, and then they're participating and adding to it, or that they are causing the suffering of other people, and that they can do something about it. If I'm the only person saying it, I feel like this tinge of, and it is a little bit masochistic, but I feel like I just got to keep trying. I just got to try.
Well, I guess my brain says, but you're not the only hope this person has. they themselves are the only hope that they have, you know? And
Yep.
if they themselves are not willing to be open and to yield, I think it's important that you know, if you feel like you want to stay in the fight, stay in the fight. But you don't have to be their friend to do it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You don't have to break bread with this person.
True.
And, you know, kick it with them
Yep.
on mozzarella stick night at the bar in order to do that.
Yeah.
Yep, as the wise Melissa McCarthy said to Kristen Wiig in the pivotal movie Bridesmaids, you are your own problem and your own solution.
And really, it's just somebody that's just stupid like this, you know, like we've been saying, but you love them. You might need to sit down and have this conversation. Be like, look, I've been struggling with maintaining our relationship for this reason.
Yeah.
I care about you, but it is taxing, truly, to be your friend with the level of bullshit and fuckery and foolywang that you bring into our relationship all the time.
Yeah.
Around these issues.
Yep.
You know, and see what kind of conversation that facilitates.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you want to stay in the ring and help these people fight the fight, I think that's good. But you can love them from across the street. You don't have to be cultivating intimacy with them.
True.
That's friends.
That's right. That's the wisdom of Takiyah. I love you. Yep.
Such great advice. Thank you. Yep.
I mean, there are people in my life that I love, and I love them. Love them. But I have to love them from here. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I have to love you from the end of a long-handled spoon.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
But you got problems. You got problems. You're going to be out here fucking with my peace of mind.
Right.
No, thank you.
Well, that's my topic, so
That was.
I'll keep you updated as things, you know, move along.
Yes,
but
keep us posted
I
on
will
what
keep you
happens
posted
with
on the saga.
Jonathan and
Michael.
Michael.
Yeah.
Okay, my topic I think is pretty short. Have you both of you might have heard about Shaun King, and he's a writer for Daily Cause, and he's a Black Lives Matter activist. I don't think he'd call himself a leader of the movement, maybe, but and he was like exposed by Breitbart, and then other sources picked it up, like The Blaze, and even I think it made it to CNN, that he was supposedly white and like a Rachel Dolezal type of thing.
Oh, I don't know the story,
Yeah.
but I knew that's where you were going to go with this for some reason.
And then he was okay, so basically this person who is a person of color and has done nothing but advocate on behalf of people of color. It's not like he's trying to profit off of it. He just is black and is perceived as black in the world. He's light-skinned enough that one could call into question, you know, is he mixed or whatever, but they came out and exposed him supposedly as a white guy trying to pass, and then it put him in this position where he either had to, you know, let that stand or talk about deeply personal family history and reveal things about his parents and his grandparents, and he had to go back and reveal shit that's nobody's fucking business. It's nobody's business. And he had to, you know, like pour out his entire soul and talk about the sex life of his elderly mother and how he came to be a person of color in the world who has this white mom. And he wrote a really long and eloquent article about never having to think about passing. He never had to think about if he was black or white. It's not something one gets to decide for themselves. It is how you are perceived in the world. And he's not Rachel Dolezal putting on bronzer and weave. He is who he is. And he is perceived as black in the world. So it wouldn't even matter, like, that, you know, he was treated as a black kid in school. He's treated as black by police. He's lived all of that life. And this bullshit thing on Breitbart, and it wasn't even from Breitbart. It was from some stupid crazy lady's like blog on some busy ass website that looks like it's from 1994. And then it just went up this weird domino of news sites where it's like it's on some blog, and then it's on maybe The Blaze, and then it's on Breitbart, and then it's on CNN being reported that this Black Lives Matter activist is posing as black and is in fact white. and then he's made to talk about elderly mama's sex life.
Well,
that's how you do black. Because nobody white undergoes that level of scrutiny about race, identity, or anything else.
Right.
Yep.
You know, I mean, the part about it that bothered me was not only did this poor man have to come out and write this very revealing personal essay, but I had to laugh a little bit because that's just how you know how much traction Black Lives Matter has. It's like now people are grasping at anything to try to discredit the movement. Anything. Right. Because you know it was supposed to just disappear, right? It was supposed to just be a bunch of angry black folks last summer,
right?
Mad about the Michael Brown thing, and they were going to be mad, and they were going to make noise, and then they were going to just disappear.
Right, and they had no leaders, and they had no talking points, and they had no strategy.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. They don't have anything. They don't have anything, and they don't have an agenda, and they're not politically savvy, and they're going after Bernie, but nobody else, which isn't true, and they are politically aware, and da-da-da-da-da. So you have to go after these people. It's disgusting. Oh, it just made me, oh, I don't know.
So,
I mean, it's gross. It's gross to do that to another human being.
Absolutely. By the way, Takiyah, so Melvin has been on daddy duty this whole time and comforting the peach that you love and admire so much, so that's why you haven't heard from him. But he's here now, so I thought you might want to say hi.
Hey, girl.
Hey. In the kitchen.
So actually, Melvin's the one who brought this story to my attention. He published and shared the article on Daily Cause where Shaun King is a writer. We'll share it on all of our social media. The article by Shaun King is called Race, Love, Hate, and Me, a Distinctly American Story, where he was made to, come clean and reveal all this stuff. It's really well written, and what you said, I'm sad he had to write it, but I'm so glad he wrote it.
Well, yeah, it's just one of those things where he shouldn't have had to come forward with this. Like, he's already been through enough, growing up and having to live around people who were stigmatizing his mother because she deigned to sleep with a black man. Like, this lily white lady basically desecrated herself in the eyes of these people by daring to even think that a black man was attracted enough to sleep with. Like, it just shouldn't. He shouldn't have had to write it, but it's well written, and I'm glad he did because the case is closed now. There's no question in this.
And it's like, not only is he black and did he have a black existence and a black life, he also had a really difficult one. Like, his story is not easy. It is difficult to read that he went through all this, and there's nothing blacker than his story. Like you said, that's how you know he's black. This life doesn't happen to a white kid. This Breitbart reveal doesn't happen to a white. As a matter of fact, Rachel Dolezal was rewarded. The person who was passing, or whatever the fuck she was doing with her bronzer and weave, she was on Good Morning America. She was being offered reality shows. She was rewarded. Here he is, an actual black man, being stigmatized and penalized for his blackness.
Anything to undermine the movement, anything to cause trauma in these people's lives and try to scare them away from doing the work that they're doing. It's all about fear and shaming in the hopes that that'll make these people go home.
Also, P.S., look at his photo. He doesn't look like a white guy.
Yeah, his fade is fresh to death. Like, you don't have that kind of haircut and you're not black. Like, it doesn't work that way. It does not.
You know what part of it is too, though, that white folks, you think by now, as much as they scrutinize communities of color would understand is black people our babies look like everything. Okay? Our babies can be, as light as Shaun or darker than 10,000 midnight. We come in a full range, of skin tones. And we know that. Two black people get together and have a baby, they know that baby could look like, you don't really know what you're going to get. Black people are about to talk. You never know what you're going to get. Okay? So when I first saw the picture of the brother, I was like, oh, he's black. I knew that from the minute I saw him. The same way when I looked at Rachel, I was like, oh, she's orange.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
You know, looking like a Oompa Loompa.
Exactly.
Get clear about why she did that out in, you know, where was she? Spokane, Washington.
Yeah.
She wasn't doing that in Atlanta.
Right.
No.
Someplace with a high concentration of black folks.
That's right.
Who would have called her out in 30 seconds.
Yeah. And Spokane is not just white. It's like, if you're from the Seattle area, you know that if you go that far east, you might as well be in, like, Idaho/Montana. That is a different brand of Washington. That is like, yeah, that's where you go to be an Oompa Loompa and nobody calls you out on it.
I thought you were going to say that's a different brand of white.
Oh.
Which it kind of is, right?
Yeah, it is. It's also much more Republican
Yeah.
than Seattle or other areas of the Pacific Northwest. Like, it's funny where lines are drawn, but that's a very different environment.
Yeah.
I go over there and it feels very different to me, and I'm from Washington.
Yeah.
That is a different kind of people. But yeah, that's right. She wasn't going to survive 5 seconds in Atlanta, in Baltimore, in Philly. That wasn't going to work.
And she knew it. And she knew it.
Yep. Absolutely.
Is it time for the game?
Yes, I have a game for us to play.
Time for the weekly game.
Melvin's not allowed to play because he helped me come up with it. So he
But
knows
it's
all the
okay.
answers.
Me and Takiyah and I are going to play this, and we're going to rock it.
Okay, so the idea is I give you the name of a podcast, and based only on the name, you tell me what it's about. Okay?
Okay.
I'll start with a couple that are maybe easier. Okay, so
I'm getting pumped. I'm amped.
Okay.
I'm like, my palms are sweaty. I'm ready to go. Let's do it.
Okay, here we go. I'll start with one that I think Takiyah's probably heard of, but we'll see if Cory has. This one's called Denzel Washington is the greatest actor of all time, period.
I mean, is it about Denzel Washington movies?
Yes, it's a podcast about Denzel Washington movies.
Okay.
Have you heard this one, Takiyah?
I have heard of it, but is that what it really is the entire show just about Denzel movies?
No, no, they talk about a movie in every episode, but it's W. Kamau Bell, right? Uh-huh. And he's just, like, inherently smart and funny, and he brings on good guests, and you want to say something? You listen to this more than I do. It's a really good podcast. I think you'd like it. They talk about them, but in really hilarious ways, and it's funny even if you have not seen the movie or if it's been, like, 20 years since you've seen it.
Yeah, so
I have seen Denzel Washington movie ever made. I need this podcast in my life, evidently.
Yeah.
You do, because they have degrees of Denzelishness. So it goes into, like, every single thing that makes Denzel, like, the greatest actor.
Yeah. And they talk about his bad movies, honestly, and they'll talk about, like, how, you know, it's funny how bad it is, or this is such a trope, or such an obvious, they talk about, like, and here they announced that this guy was an NFL quarterback because they needed the audience to know that he was an NFL quarterback in the worst bit of dialogue in the entire movie. They had Denzel literally say, oh, look, it's that guy who was an NFL quarterback. You know? And so they, they will address all of the absurdities of the movies.
Okay, quick favorite Denzel movie. Go, Melvin.
Ooh, that's hard.
Oh,
That's hard.
Of all time, it would have to be Mo Better Blues.
Yeah, that's a good one.
But I have to give runner-up spots to Malcolm X and the Hurricane. Sorry.
Yeah. I haven't seen all his movies, so I can only say my favorite one of the ones I've seen. It's Mississippi Masala.
Oh, that is hot.
That is a good movie.
Yeah.
I think mine is Philadelphia.
Oh, yeah, Philadelphia too. Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember if it's because of his performance. I just remember that being a really powerful movie when I saw it.
It's just a powerful movie.
It was a really powerful movie for me.
Yeah.
And like the age that it came out, how old I was, I was very moved by that.
Oh my god, the ending of that movie just kills me every single time.
Yeah.
There are 3 movies that make me cry, and only 3 movies in the world that make me cry.
What are they?
Philadelphia, the ending of Philadelphia.
The Notebook.
No. Beaches.
Okay. Okay.
And then this one's really weird. The ending of Sixth Sense.
Oh.
Yes, and I will tell you why. Because so at the ending of that, I mean, everyone thinks it's like a scary movie and like whatever, but I mean it is, but like it's also a very emotional movie. And at the end of the movie, Haley Joel Osment and Toni Collette, who's playing his mom, are sitting in the car, and they're like at a traffic jam, right? And she's trying to see like, oh, what happened? And he goes, oh, it was a bike accident. Somebody got hit by a bike. And she says, oh, how do you know? Can you see something? And he says, no, the person died and they told me. And she's like, what are you talking about? And basically it's like his coming out scene. Like he's coming out to her as like a clairvoyant or whatever. And he starts to tell her about, it's going to like choke me up even talking about it. He says, Grandma comes to visit me sometimes. And Toni Collette's like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? And he says, she wanted me to tell you she wanted me to say that she came to your, you guys were fighting one time when you were a little girl, and you had a dance recital, and you thought she didn't go, but she was standing in the back watching, and blah, 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 blah. And Toni Collette's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And then he says, she also told me that one day you came to her grave, and you asked her a question, and the answer was, every day. What was the question? And she asks, see, I'm like starting to tear up. And she goes, what was the question? And Toni Collette says, I asked her if she was proud of me.
Oh.
Oh, that's so sweet.
And I've even Melvin and Alexis can vouch for me. My eyes are like super watery right now. And I'm even like just tearing up just thinking about it. And it's just like the powerhouse acting and the writing and then just that moment and like, oh my God, yes.
Well, thanks for the spoilers.
I know,
Yeah.
Sorry.
You just now I can't even watch the
But
movie.
you've seen it before, and I guarantee you didn't cry at that. I think I'm probably the only person that's cried at that movie.
No, I never watched it because I knew I heard the spoiler before.
Oh, yeah.
Like, when it first came out, I knew the ending, and so I just never saw it. But
well, you should still watch it anyway, because it's really fascinating how they do it.
yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah. What do you think, Takiyah? Have you seen that movie?
I love that movie. I saw it once and didn't need to ever see it again because I'm terrified of the Vincent Gray character.
Oh, yeah.
But it's another one of those movies with no black people in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I always wonder where those people live.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
White people that there are no. I typically don't have movies that make me cry. I have movies that make me angry. The movie that makes me angriest is Catch Me If You Can.
Yes.
The movie with Leonardo DiCaprio where he plays, he's the real life con man.
Right.
He plays all different, all these different cons. And on the one hand, I love the sense of adventure in the film because I love that. But I can't help but think about how race and gender facilitates his ability to take on all of these other identities that if he were a color or a woman would have been completely impossible for him to feign social acceptance.
For sure.
Like you just go learn some words and have everybody think you a doctor.
Right.
That would not have been the case for a black man in the late 50s. Yeah.
Yep. Totally right.
Yes, absolutely. Okay.
But I need the Denzel podcast. If you have never seen it, you must see Denzel in A Soldier's Story.
Oh, that's a good one.
Based on a soldier's play, but that is actually his first movie.
Oh.
And he's so young and skinny, and he's so good in it. It is worth seeing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so the podcast, again, was called Denzel Washington is the Greatest Actor of All Time, period.
Is period spelled out?
Yes, and that's my favorite part,
That's
I think,
the best part.
of the title.
Yeah.
Okay, next one. James Bonding.
James King?
It's about two guys named James who just sit around and shoot the shit.
That's a good guess.
Yeah, I was like, the two guys named James who are brothers or friends, and they are cultivating their relationship, and we get to listen.
Those are really good guesses. It's more literal. James Bonding. James Bonding.
Yeah, James Bond. I mean, that's obvious. Like, so they talk about James Bond films?
It's two guys bonding over James Bond films.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
yeah.
Uh-oh.
Although I do like
I guess that's sort of very meta.
Yeah, I was taking it a little too far. I was like, oh, it's got to be more than that, but no, it's pretty much what it is.
And their names are Matt, actually.
But I actually do like I do like the idea, Takiyah, of two brothers named James. As if their parents just weren't creative enough. We're just going to name them both James. That's good. I like that.
I mean, what happened is one of them You know, did somebody have an extramarital affair and they're both named James?
Yes.
The families are happy now, and now they're building this relationship.
It's like there's this TV show. It's on Netflix now, but I think originally it was on USA or something, called Sirens. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. It's about these two. It's about this these trio of guys who are all like paramedics, and just like the crazy things they do. And one of them is named Jack, and he has a dad who like divorced his mom and married a younger woman, and then he had a like kid. So he's got a brother who's like 15, 20 years younger than he is, and they named him John. And he's like, you gave him the same name as me? And his dad's like, no, your name's Jack. And it's like, yeah, Jack is a nickname for John. Like, what do you, like, hello? Anyway.
I've never understood that, how Jack is a nickname for John.
I've never understood it either, but...
But then Sasha's a nickname for Alex, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Election college.
Election college.
University politics. Or college people...
Like, I was like, is it student organization?
Yeah.
Talking about campus politics or student government or...
Those are really smart guesses. This is, you want to try again? No? Okay. Election college is, it's people talking about American political history and how there was a lot of controversy and scandal in past elections, but there was no Twitter. So it's like they're digging up the dirt from the old elections, and it's a little college where they teach us about it. It's like election history.
Gotcha. That's cool.
That's the election college. Okay. This is particular.
That's sort of nerdy and fantastic.
Yes, it is. It is. Okay, this one is called Wrestlerotica.
Hot wrestlers. They just talk about hot wrestlers.
That's what it should be about.
Yeah.
That's.
Is there something about the intersection between wrestling and pornography?
That's probably as close as anybody could ever get. Yeah, it's people talking about. So these people think that like wrestling and wrestling fan fiction is inherently funny and interesting, and they think erotica is also funny to talk about and makes everybody embarrassed, and so they talk about those two topics and they try to find commonalities. So it's about wrestling fan fiction and erotica and how both of those things make you feel silly and are silly inherently. Okay.
Well, I have to say, who was it? Aronofsky, who did The Black Swan, also did a film called The Wrestler. And when I was doing research on Black Swan, I found out that initially he wanted them to be in the same film together.
Oh.
Because it was got whole meditation on how wrestlers and dancers, ballet dancers in particular, have similar training regimens and exploitation of the body and this meditation around imperfection. I guess. Maybe we're missing something. I don't think I'll be downloading that one, but
No.
It's interesting.
Yes, exactly. It's not one I'm going to be listening to.
Yeah.
But this one sounded cute. This one's called Feed Me Bubby.
Just mother recipes.
What did you say?
Are these recipes from a Jewish mother?
Very close.
Oh, that's good.
Very close.
What is it?
A bubby is a grandmother, and this is a grandson bonding with his grandma over her. She's teaching him her recipes for her her Ashkenazi comfort food.
Nice.
So it's like this guy and his grandma getting closer, and he's learning the family recipes, and she's his like older Jewish grandma, and she makes this comfort food that's like of an Ashkenazi tradition, and he's learning how to make it. And so there's a different recipe for every episode. That's cute, right?
That's really cute. I like that one.
That's very sweet.
I like that.
All my grandparents are gone now, so I love the idea of bonding with your grandpeople.
Yeah.
That's important.
Right, and it's neat that it's a guy and his grandma, and it's neat that they're bonding over food. I thought that one sounded good. Okay, I've got two left. This one is called... Okay, I'm going to try to say it well. It's Saul Goodman.
Well, it's about Saul Goodman.
Yes.
Better Call Saul.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was really fast.
Wow.
So It's Saul Goodman is about Saul Goodman, the character from Breaking Bad who has the spin-off show. Do you know what
I'm just blown away at how niche these podcasts are.
I know.
They are, yeah.
I know that, and there's one for everything, and I was poring over them trying to find good ones where you could maybe guess something about them from the name. You would not believe, oh my god, you would not believe how many groups of white guys get together weekly to talk about Dungeons and Dragons and like Magic the Gathering. Like, who needs another podcast of 5 straight white guys? And there's always something like, we just drink beer and talk about Dungeons and Dragons. There are a lot of these groups of straight white men talking about shit that are not interesting and don't have clever names. There are a lot of them, you guys.
Yep.
But yeah, there's a lot of niche. You're no joke. But yeah, have you seen that show? It's Better Call Saul.
No.
I haven't seen it yet. I've heard it's really good. I was a huge fan of Breaking Bad. I've seen like a couple episodes of Better Call Saul and it hasn't pulled me in yet. Have you seen it? More of it? No. I want to like it because I loved Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
Okay, this one is my favorite one for like just in terms of coming up with a good name. And this is the last one of the game. Family Chatters. Family Chatters.
It's they talk about different episodes of Family Matters. It's a family sitting around a table talking about the TV show Family Matters.
That is basically what it is.
Is it really?
So,
oh my god.
You cannot be serious.
I'm dead serious. It's even more narrow than that. I think they're a married couple, not a whole family. And they talk about the last season of Family Matters.
Oh, just the last season.
I think so. And they chat about, per episode, like how far it went. I don't know if you remember, but like there was like time travel and
Yes.
Steven became Stefan and
Stefan Urkel.
and it just devolved, right? Like it just became, it was all about him. I think other people were written off the show. It just like totally went off the rails, jumped the shark.
One night Judy went upstairs to go to bed and we never saw her.
Right? And so this is literally a podcast where they chat about episodes from the final season of Family Matters, and it's called Family Chatters.
That is ridiculous. That is so ridiculous.
It's fantastic.
Have you listened to it?
Yes, I've listened to it.
That is so amazing because that's so strange.
Yes, it's perfect. And they.
What the fuck are people doing out in the internet? What are people doing on the internet?
They're doing everything. They're doing everything.
I mean, really. You get together each week and talk about the last season. Okay, I'm not judging. Y'all go ahead. Do your show. Do your show.
I've listened and I like it. And I'm going to keep listening. I like it. I think it's funny.
Cool.
And it reminds you of childhood and how there were these TV shows that you just sat and watched.
Yeah.
And you're just like, what was I even thinking?
Yeah.
How did I stay on board for, the 11th season of this bullshit? You just like...
I think I'm going to check it out too. Sounds fun.
I like it.
Cool.
And we stuck in there because then they had that spinoff with the Smollett.
They did.
Don't even get me started with them because I'm just in love with all of them.
The
Orphan?
Smollets.
Oh.
Jesse is my yeah.
He's on the list.
He's on the list.
You would get a hall pass.
Listen, honey,
Yeah.
I totally understand. Keep him on there, honey. Keep him on the list. But it was because it's like 900 kids in that family.
I know.
And I feel like on the show they were orphans or something, or they were adopted by a family, and it was all of their witty hijinks. And they lived next door to the Winslows.
Oh, the Winslows. I feel like I know them.
Oh.
Of course we did. We watched them for 11 years. Even once the show jumped the shark.
Yes. That's the thing. I've never missed an episode of that show with the little girl who was a robot. That little redhead.
Small, yeah.
Yep, never missed an episode. Alf. What was I doing with
Yeah.
my childhood?
I know.
I had a bicycle.
I know.
There was a park. Why was I watching Small Wonder and Alf?
I know.
Because you always thought that maybe this was the week he was going to eat one of them cats.
Wow.
Wow.
Oh
All
my
right.
gosh.
Well,
this has been a really fun episode.
This has been an amazing episode. Let's dig something.
We're gonna do our digs. Mine will be quick. I dig the generosity of my friends. I have had a couple people do really nice, wonderful, generous things, and just in the last week, and they know who they are and they're listeners. And I just want to say I'm grateful, and that it is hard to accept the generosity of others. but I am grateful and I am accepting. So that's my dig this week. The generosity of my friends. What's your dig, Melvin?
My dig is a Denzel Washington movie. It is The Great Debaters.
Ooh.
Not because it's necessarily the greatest film, but because it's white people homework. Like, that was kind of Denzel's goal in his directing and sort of producing of the film, is basically to tell a story that hadn't been told and to really play up a lot of the history and to put it in a palatable format. And he took some liberties, you know, some artistic liberties with the story. And, you know, the big team that they debate in the end was, in the movie, is Harvard, but at the time it was actually the University of South Carolina that had the greatest debate team. But you know, you can't go to American audience and says, you know what, University of South Carolina has an amazing debate team, and it's like, no, it would be Harvard or Yale. So, but yeah, The Great Debaters, white people homework. You should probably check it out.
Nice.
My dig is Rice Krispie treats. Right before this, Alexis and I went to the coffee shop, and I got a little latte, and I got a Rice Krispie treat, and Alexis shoots me a look and says, your trainer going to be okay with that? And I said, shh, shut your mouth. And I ate the Rice Krispie treat. Remember the time I said shut your mouth?
I do remember.
No,
I
didn't. I don't think I actually... I might have. No, I didn't actually say shut your mouth. But my look said it all.
Yes.
There we go. So luckily he doesn't listen to this podcast. I haven't seen him in 3 weeks. I know. Well, it will be 3 weeks once I see him next Friday. And I've realized that I need to see him every week. Otherwise, it just goes off the rails.
Fall off the wagon.
I just fall off the wagon. So I have to make a commitment and do that. But anyway, yes, the Rice Krispie treat was totally worth it, and it's amazing.
Nice.
Yeah.
Takiyah, what do you dig?
I dig Campaign Zero. Have we talked about Campaign Zero yet?
We have not, and I love that you're bringing it up.
Yeah, so I've been spending a lot of time on their website. People can go to www.joincampaignzero.org. One of the things that folks who've been criticizing Black Lives Matter as a movement have been saying is, well, all of these people are loud and protesting and angry, but they haven't articulated any policy solutions. What are their solutions, and what is their platform? Carry yourself over to joincampaignzero.org, and you will see how they define sort of the core issue around policing in our communities. They have a 10-point policy solution platform. They have also tracked how candidates have responded so far to different elements of the platform. And I love it because there's a link on the site to wetheprotesters.org where you can sign up for their newsletter and keep up to date on things that are happening in the movement. I just love how people are galvanizing the power of the internet to do more than strange podcasts.
Yes, absolutely. Also, I really liked that they have like graphics for every candidate running where you can see if they support, agree with, advocate for each of the 10 points. So it's like you can look at the Republican nominees and you can see all 10 points, and there is one tiny square colored in. It's something that Rand Paul said that's right. Everybody else is blank. You can look at Martin O'Malley versus Hillary Clinton versus Bernie Sanders and see the things light up with what they've said. And it's just super clear, very informative, very helpful. I love that. I love your dig. Excellent.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being on our show.
Thank you for being on our show. It was awesome. You guys can find out more about us at www.thedigpodcast.com. We're on Facebook and Reddit as The Dig Podcast. We're on Twitter at TweetTheDig. You can write us at writethedigpodcast@gmail.com. And I think that was it. Oh, and, rate, review, share.
5 stars.
5 stars, people. Again, thank you, Takiyah, for being on our program. This is one of the best episodes we've ever done, so I'm super excited.
I had a good time. Thanks for having me. I'll come back.
Awesome.
Awesome.
That's it. Thanks so much for listening.
Bye.